because that's what we all still call it. That's what you still search for online until it starts catching on. Right, so that's now the new logo, the new Wayground logo, but it still has the same perks, it still has the same AI, it still has the same capabilities, ideas, topics, everything that you might have used of quizzes. Now, as our first exercise, what I like to do is to first demonstrate and then explain what the whole topic is about. So we're going to do a quick quiz, only a 10-question quiz. And Hagen, I think I took one of your topics for this quiz, one of your favorite subjects that you teach, which is history, but I don't think you teach anymore because you must are a principal right now.
Casey, I just want to say I used to be a teacher, but yeah, yes, I was only a history teacher. It wasn't very what's the word, diversified in my teaching. You know, I could only teach history. So let's check if I still know the stuff. Am I allowed to play with?
I think not because you might get full marks, but for the purpose of inclusivity, everyone can play with in this round.
Okay, truth be told, I had the PowerPoint open here just in case.
Okay. All right. So before we get into any explanations or anything about quizzes or Wayground that is called now, we're gonna play along in a game, right? So there's two ways that you can play. You can either play on your computer if you're watching on your computer, or you can play on your cell phone. So all you do is you type in Wayground, and then or you type in this email address right here, that the website, sorry, that Hagen will drop in the chat, and then you'll enter the join code. Or if you are using your cell phone, you can just scan the QR code. And there we already have our first person, which is Kashifa Abrams, and it's quick to join. So while people are busy joining the quiz, I'll just give you a quick rundown. So it's basically questions that you would ask in the classroom, but it's done in a gamification format. We know that kids love games. We know that kids love instant gratification. That is shown with social media nowadays. But this basically puts all of that together into one and creates a game for the learners to actually play in the classroom or at home, but they're actually learning about the content. Hagen, have you ever used Wayground quizzes in your classroom or in your private time with your son or whoever?
JC, I actually use it all the time. I actually use paper mode.
Hagen?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. JC, you appear to be off.
Oh, so JC's lagging. Okay, I was just checking who's lagging. Yeah, so I use it all the time actually. I use paper mode because in Visante Kral we struggle with devices, and I know a lot of people say, you know, it's difficult because there's not a level playing field with regards to technology. But the great thing is with regards to quizzes or well now Wayground, you can use it anywhere and with anyone. I think it's really an awesome tool, and it's really a fun tool. The kids really enjoy it, and it's a great way that I do revision in my class with them. So at the end of every term, what we do is just before exams comes around, and then we play around. I set up a quiz based on the PowerPoints or the Google slides that I have, and they have fun with it.
That's great to hear. So I usually use it in the classroom when I'm doing a quick class test. At the start of the session, most of the time we're trying to consolidate what the learners have learned the previously. And I'll do this as a quick 5 minute, 4 minute, 3 minute, whichever amount of questions there is, just to see what they have learned of yesterday's lesson or the previous week's lesson, and to just get that engagement in the class going. Because if you get the kid first period or the seventh period, right, those 2 periods, you either gonna get nothing out of them or they'll be sleeping. So this is just one way to get them going, to get them lively, to get them awake and engaged in the classroom. So we're just gonna wait another minute or two for people to join, and then we're going to start the quiz. Right, so as I said, there's 10 questions to this quiz, and all of it is based on grade 8 history, unfortunately. So I don't know how long many of you have been out of the school system, um, pertaining now to the history subject, if you are teaching history or you haven't had history in years, but we actually now going to test everyone's knowledge on grade 8 history. And Hagen, I think it's the Industrial Revolution that they learn in grade 8 history, if I'm not mistaken.
JC, that's correct. It's the Industrial Revolution, so it should be easy. I think everybody passed grade 8 history. Remember, it was compulsory. So I'm expecting full marks from everyone, eh? No pressure, no pressures. I always say
No
the
pressure.
confident people, they add their real names.
Okay, right. So we have 13 people, so I think that's good enough to start because time will start catching up to us. So once you have sent this link to everyone else and they scan the QR code or they type in the special number there on top, they don't actually need a quizzes account to access the quiz. But later on, you'll see why they do need a quizzes account so that you can analyze the data and you can actually send the results to the parents directly, which is so cool. So let's start quickly. So I think 15 is enough, and then you'll just press start. Right, so as you can see here, there's like a type of leaderboard. Coming back to the instant gratification and the gamification that learners enjoy, it's basically you can put this up in the classroom. That's what I love to do. I put it up in the classroom on the projector, and the learners can see who's in the lead, who's answering the most correct questions, who's getting the questions incorrect, all of those things. And that actually acts as motivation for them to want to learn about the subject because they're actually learning about the subject, one. But number two, they're also now having fun instead of just sitting there and listening to the boring history. Sorry, again, because history is a bit boring. They're actually learning about it and actually having fun at the same time.
JC, it depends on the teacher, man. It's not the subject. It depends on the teacher.
Okay, now how do you make the subject exciting again while everyone else is playing?
Well, I think the same way you're presenting the session is the same way we need to be passionate in our classrooms. And I think that's the most important thing. They can see you believe in what you are saying. They start to believe in it too.
Exactly. Right, and the one way that we can get engagement in the classes is by using technology to our advantage. Because at the end of the day, technology is always going to be around. And the way that we will actually get the kids more engaged in classrooms is by using technology, by using the AI that's around, by using the websites or the sites that are around, such as Wayground or Kahoots, those types of websites. Even GimKit is great.
I agree. I think
Right.
we need to make education fun these days. We're competing with so much out there that education needs to, we need to learn in a sense that education needs to be fun, it needs to be transformative, it needs to be experiential. There's so much that we can do in the classroom.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to come from the classroom. And the small things that you do in the classroom can affect everything else in the school environment. So we see that Alvin Souls is leading with 5,260 points. And I'll give it another minute or two because there's only 10 questions for the Industrial Revolution. And I think Hagen Horn, that's a history teacher, is lagging here in 6. So I don't think that he knows much about the subject. Hint, hint. Or you're getting stuff wrong on purpose, Hagen.
JC, I'm playing with a lot of humility right now. I'm trying to level it. My phone's in my left hand, so it's harder to choose the right answer.
Okay, Hagen, give those excuses. Right, so I think I'm going to end the quiz in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. In third place, we have Krazan Bosch. In second place, we have Alvin Souls. And in first place, out of nowhere, we have Bronwyn Hibbins. Alvin was leading the whole way, so congratulations to all of you. Now, as you can see here, at the end of the quiz, here pops up a type of report. And this report, we will go more in depth when we start exploring how to create quizzes on Wayground. But it basically also gives you a stats breakdown of every individual and tells you which questions they got correct, but it also tells you the percentage of people that got the questions correct. So that you can also make a note of it and say, okay, these types of questions my kids are struggling with. These types of questions they're not really struggling with, so I don't actually have to pay much attention to. And this is where they can actually build upon. Right, so the X's mean wrong, the ticks mean right, and then the exclamation marks mean that they skipped the question. They didn't attempt to answer it. So that also helps with your stats to see what type of questions your learners skip. And then you'll see here in the top right hand corner is an email all parents. You can actually email the individual results to the parents so that they can also have a knowledge of what's going right with the learner and what's going wrong and where they actually have to focus a bit. Are there any questions yet in the chat, Hagen, before I get to the theoretical background behind quizzes?
JC, so I don't want to jump the gun. So you can basically load your class list on here, and you can track it
Exactly.
over the course of the year.
Exactly. I was going to show that with our digital skills course, that class that we did, I was going to add everyone else later on. But shh, again, don't give everything away yet.
Sorry, JC.
Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Now that we have a small idea of what quiz is about, that is not the only thing that quizzes can do. But before we get to that, let's get to the theoretical background. So, in teaching, we have two different of assessments. We have assessment for learning and we have assessment of learning. Now, assessment for learning is what we do in the classroom, where we teach the content, we build on the content, we do the small pop quizzes, we do the small question and answers or discussions so that we can gauge their knowledge and so that we can find where the gaps of knowledge is and then we can actually build upon it. So we're basically preparing them for the main assessment. The main assessment is the assessment of learning, which is our formal examinations, our formal tasks. So in the classroom, we are always trying to, let's say, fix the knowledge break that could be in the learner with certain content. I can speak from experience because I am an English teacher, even though it doesn't sound like it, where a lot of
JC,
the
it sounds
times,
like it.
sorry,
Definitely sounds like it. Don't sell yourself so short.
I
Definitely
feel like
sounds.
it, because it's school holiday, I'm still correcting people's grammar when they speak to me. That's such a teacher move. Right? So, as an educator, what we do majority in the classroom is that we're actually fixing the learner's knowledge. We're teaching something in the class, we're trying to find the gap, and then we reteach that content again. Like I said before, with literature, a lot of the time there's gaps in knowledge. We teach something of Romeo and Juliet or Othello today, and then tomorrow they forget everything about it. I know for a small example, like a literature essay. A literature essay I've taught probably 9 out of the 10 weeks of teaching that we do have. And every week they still forget how to write a literature essay. But every week I find different ways to actually build on that content by using different methods, quizzes or Kahoots, or even AI just to show them how a proper literature essay should be written, and even using AI to point out their mistakes because sometimes they email me their attempts of essays so that I can go through it before they write the examinations as practice. And at the end of it all, they'll have an exam or formal assessment, which will test everything that you've taught in the term. And when you're marking, you always feel despondent because you're like, didn't I teach anything in this 10 weeks? Again, I know we all feel like that, right?
We definitely do, JC, but I think we take too much upon ourselves, And I love what Yaku said once upon a time is that we should move away from the stage on the stage where it's just about us. And I think introducing these tools makes education, it changes the way we view education and the way the kids receive it also.
Exactly that, Hagen. Now, I am a self-proclaimed foodie. I love food. And it's been raining for 3 or 4 weeks. So I thought, well, what analogy can I use to get to my point across? So we're going to use the soup analogy. Now, I know, Hagen, you're reaching those years where you smell the rain in the air and you want to make soup.
What do you mean I'm reaching those years?
Yeah, you're reaching those years. You're principal now. Your age is catching up to you.
You
So
say the
I thought,
principal breaks soup.
so I thought, what great way to explain the difference between formative and summative assessment by using the soup analogy. Now, formative assessment refers back to assessment for learning, right? So formative assessment, for example, is when a chef tastes the soup and makes adjustments. So when you're making a dish, you're always tasting and adding ingredients, taking away ingredients, adding ingredients until you have the final product. That's the same in teaching. We are basically creating the soup, which is now the knowledge. We're giving the knowledge to the learners. They are tasting and they realize something is missing. And then you're going back and telling them, okay, this is the content that you need to know. So you're always trying to adjust the way they are learning so that they can understand the content better. Right, so that's formative assessments, all that informal tests that you do in the class, those class discussions, that quick pop quizzes that you give in the morning, those Friday spelling tests that you might give even in the lower grades or even the higher grades, they need it sometimes. And then we get summative assessment. So summative assessment is when the diner tastes the soup. So it's basically when your soup is done, you give it to the people in your household, and everyone in your household becomes a critic because they didn't make it, but they're like, they have opinion. Summative assessment also is basically at the end of the term when you have the exam, and they basically tested on everything that they have learned throughout the 10 weeks of teaching. Right, so all the adjustments and the tasting and the fixing is now completed, and they actually have to deliver on what they have learned throughout the term.
Jesse, can I just add to your soup analogy?
Yeah,
Something that I love quite a bit about the soup analogy is that there's so much effort put into the soup. And I think if educators can think about the soup that they are, creating throughout the term, there's so much effort, different spices. And I think that the thing is, if you're constantly going to sprinkle a little bit of salt, you're going to get the same result. It's probably going to become worse. But when you start to use a little bit of different spices and try different things, you actually get to the product that you want. And I think that's the same with education. We need to try different things throughout the course of the term to get to, that summative assessment, that final tasting. I think that's the best way to do it.
exactly like that, Hagen. And that's a great segue into our feedback loop. So in many classrooms, and I'm not saying this to be rude to anyone or offend anyone, but in a lot of classrooms we have something that's called the broken feedback loop, where at first we build the content knowledge we teach, then we assess, then we provide feedback to the learner, and that's where it ends. Right, we provide feedback and say, okay, this and this is where you went wrong. That's the wrong answers. But we don't actually go back with the learner and say, okay, these are your weaknesses. This is where you got wrong. These are the questions my learners are struggling with. So I actually have to go and reteach that content. So there's like a broken feedback where everything just stops at a broken feedback loop where everything just stops at the feedback, and we don't actually sometimes go back and reteach that content. And that's nothing on the educators. Time frames is also one of the biggest issues that we have in teaching. But in an ideal world, we should have a complete circle, right, Egan?
Yeah, but I think also at the same time it's a bit difficult if you're doing everything in the workbook or in the learner's writing book. It's hard to track where the learners are going wrong, because I think if you're doing a normal activity out of a textbook, it's hard to track which ones they're all getting wrong. But I think with these digital tools, it makes it so much easier to find out, okay, where the problem is.
Exactly that, Egan. That's why in the ideal world, we should just much time and be able to find where all the gaps of knowledge is. But that's why we have tools and we have different websites in order for us to actually assist educators much better. Now, coming back to food, as I said before, this is a chef's feedback loop. This is what chefs use. They add the ingredients, they taste the ingredients, they try to find out what is the missing elements, and then they add more ingredients again. So in the classroom, that is basically what we would also want. Okay, we will build on the content knowledge, we'll assess the content knowledge, we'll provide feedback on the assessed knowledge, and then identify anything that's missing, and then build on the content again. Now, Hagen, do you use this in the classroom or do you use something a bit different?
I do. I actually use quizzes in the classroom. I use a bit of ClassPoint in the classroom too. So it's easier for me to go back and see, okay, where's the gaps, and I can have a chat with my learners and say, okay, you need to focus on this area, you need to focus on that area. Like I said before, it's harder for me when I'm doing everything in the textbook or from the textbook to the workbook, where I have to go through every single book and go through all of those questions and answers to find out, where the missing link is. So this makes it so much easier for me. In history, when we are writing essays, this is a great way for me to revise these essays and to test them.
Exactly the same way that I do it with my literature essays. It's one way that I can actually provide feedback, and then we'll go back to the class, we'll check where everyone is missing their knowledge, and then I'll go and reteach the content again. Right, again?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You need to go back. I think that's the most important part of the tool. I think sometimes we get lost in the fun of it, and we don't look at, what's the intention of having a quiz or setting up these different tools, because we have all of the fun and then we ask ourselves the question, so why aren't the results improving? And then we blame the tool, but we didn't do what we were actually supposed to do as an educator and provide that feedback and try and reassess. So that's also very, very important.
Right. True. So this is where we get to our favorite part of the whole session, which is about Wayground. So Wayground is an online quizzing tool designed to test a learner's content knowledge. There's different functions and there's different AI tools that's built into the Wayground application that allows you to actually have so much more time to create quizzes in the classroom so that it's quick for you to gauge where the knowledge is missing of the learner. Right, Hagen, do you spend a lot of time on the Wayground or is it just a quick and seamless process?
Quick and seamless process. Like I said, I mostly use it low tech these days because it's quick and simple, but we're doing that later in the week. But in the past, I used to use it. We have tablets and it's quick and easy to jump on. As all the educators jumped on today, right? Basically, you just put the code in, join my quiz, or you can scan the QR code and the kids jump on. It doesn't take a lot of time. And once you're up and running, it's so much fun. I've done it for my QMS so many times, and every principal was so impressed by what I've done. And all I thought to myself was, it's actually so simple to do this, you know?
Exactly. Right, and then it also goes back to the learner. So it allows the learner to test his own knowledge of content. And you can actually assign homework to the learner if you are able to. What I mean by if you are able to, I know that we come from different circumstances. A lot of our schools, we have learners where there's not a lot of where they don't have access to computers, where they don't have access to Wi-Fi or data. But with quizzes, there's also a paper mode version that you can do in the classroom. And the only thing you will need to do is to print out a few pages, which I'll show you later on, and then use your QR code. Then everyone can still play along with the quizzes game, and you can still have the gamification in the classroom without the necessity of having all of these resources and technology. I know in my classroom I make use of the paper mode version because we're not allowed to have cell phones in the classroom. The learners are not allowed to have. But I still want to have the engagement in the class and I still want to use the courses app. So I use the paper version so that the learners can still play along with the games. They can still learn about the content, the literature content especially, but we don't have to use any of the technological things that is at our disposal. Hagen, I also know that you come from a no-fee school. Am I correct?
That is correct, JC. That is correct. Like as I said before, we use paper mode, but I don't want to go into it too much because I know you're gonna go into it, and I'll just comment on what we do. But like you say, it's as simple as printing the QR codes, and you go from there. So it's I think that kind of levels the playing field in a sense that every child has access to these fun and exciting tools. JC, we just
Exactly.
have a comment here from Elmarie van Heerden. I think it's an important comment. Elmarie says strategic and specific questions placed strategically throughout the lesson are also a low-tech way to collect data on how many learners learned what was taught. I agree with that. That is a great comment. If you
100%.
plan your lessons, I think you don't just always just go and flow with the content, but you plan strategic questions to check, okay, do they know this? Do they know that? I think that's a great way of, basically double tapping and checking with them.
Exactly that. A lot of the times we plan, but we can actually gauge how much the learner does not know by just asking certain questions in the classroom. I, I can't tell you again how many times that I'll stand in the class, the learners go, yes, sir, we understand. And then just before the lesson ends, you ask a question, and then everyone just looks at you with blank faces. So that's also a cool way just to catch them out to see if everyone was engaging.
That's true, Jesse. You feel like the best teacher in the world until those results come.
Especially if you created a great PowerPoint, you had everything, you had great videos, audio, you feel like you were the top class, and then you ask a question, and then it's crickets.
That's true. That's true. Kaylin also sent through a comment. Kaylin said that this is also an awesome tool for foundation-based micro teaching when we're talking about what they know and don't know. So yeah, that's so true.
That is so true. Right, Hagen, before I actually now get into the exciting part, which is creating quizzes and showing everyone how great this app really is, are there any more questions before I continue?
Just a couple of comments. The people are quite active now in the comment section. Charlene said, I bounce between Kahoot and quizzes, which is now Wayground. Learners do learn. If a similar question pops in the exams test, the learners actually stand prouder when they get it right. I think that is so true. I always think an exam is not there to catch someone out. An exam is there to test someone based on what you've taught. So I don't think we should look at the summative assessment as trying to catch somebody out. I think that's the wrong way to approach things. We need to approach it as in, we have been basically training them up for that final race. And so they need to be prepared for that final race. So if you can, find a way to guide your learner and do it the right way, we'll have more successful, more confident learners.
Exactly that, Hagen. Exactly that. Right. So this is now the quizzes interface. So this is the home page that you will access. Okay. But I'll just log out quickly so I can show you how quickly it is to actually log in and to register for Wayground. So all you have to do is you can either type in Wayground or you can type in quizzes. If you type in quizzes, the Wayground website will still pop up. It will automatically redirect to the new website, which is Wayground. Now there's two ways for you to sign up. Okay. You can either, let me just exit that. You just press login. So I can show you there's three ways. So you can either sign up with your Google accounts, you can either sign up with your email, you can either sign up with your Microsoft, or you can sign up with any other account that you might have on social media such as Facebook or Apple. Now I make use of my Google accounts because it's the easiest. Right? And as you can see, I have two quizzes accounts, and I'll explain that later on why I have two. Right? And once you have registered and you logged in and you did all of those paperwork, you will open up on this interface that we had before. Now, again, I don't think that you know this, but because Quizzes was brought over or recreated into Wayground, there's now some limitations to the whole website. So before Quizzes, which is now called Wayground, Quizzes was free. It was free. There was unlimited things to do on there. But now that it has become Wayground, there's a bit of a few limitations. It is still free, don't worry, but the free version has a few limitations that you're going to have to take note of. One of them is that you can only host 20 activities on here. So once you delete the activity, then it will free it up, but you can only host 20 activities, whether it be lesson plans, presentations, cue cards, or quizzes on here at the time. And you only get 10 credits per month to use the AI tools that are on this website, unfortunately. Isn't that sad, Egan?
Last question. So firstly,
Yes.
thank you for naturally just assuming that I didn't know. Um, I actually didn't know, but actually a question that I have, because I do use quizzes and I haven't created a lot of them recently, but I haven't gone back to the old ones. Will I then lose my old quizzes that I've already created? If you say I can only have 20 activities at a time.
Unfortunately, yes, and unfortunately, no. So why I'm saying yes and no, because once you delete an activity, it becomes archived, almost like WhatsApp has an archive function, right? There's also archive function for quizzes. But the no part comes in. If it is archived, you're going to have to upgrade to the next package so that you can get it out of the archive.
Okay, I understand.
You understand? So it doesn't disappear anywhere else, but if you archive it, you can't get it out unless you're off the free version, unfortunately.
So basically, you've lost it
Unless you upgrade it. And the payment options is in dollars, and as an educator, we don't have that dollars to spend. But I still think that 20 activities is a lot to use. Right? And I'm going to show you ways that you can actually keep the activity so you can use it in the classroom again. So that you don't actually automatically lose everything, you can keep it. It's not going to be electronic per se, but it will be able to be done in a worksheet way or a PDF way. Is that fine, Hagen?
That is fine. I've seen some of my educators actually, they use it that way in the worksheet way, in the PDF way. I haven't been using it, but some have, and I've actually been very curious about that.
It is great. I use it for my grade 8s and grade 9s just to do quick quizzes or to do exam preparation, because their content or ATP is not as much during certain terms. So it is a great way to do consolidation and to actually gauge where they are with the content. So this is now the interface of quizzes. So as you can see here, it basically looks like a mini website. It looks like, let's say, a social media interface. If you scroll down, you will see that is the recent draft activity. So I was busy with Whitney's Keys flashcards for my grade 11s, for my 11As, so that they can actually have some study material for the holidays. And then you can see here, there's also trending activities. So these are different activities that were done by different people on the quizzes site. So please note, if you do create an activity and you publish it, so basically you put it on the quizzes site, then it is open to use for anyone. So anyone can actually find your activity and use it as their own. As you can see, there's numerous. This is just basically for English because I use this a lot for English, but there's a lot of other subjects that you can actually find on here. If you search for any topic, for example, if I search history, you see there that different history topics pop up that I can also use for my quizzes, which is great. On the left-hand side, you have the create button, which we'll get to in a few minutes. You have the explore. You have the library. The library is where all your activities, your lessons, your cue cards, your flashcards, all of that will be housed. Your reports, we'll get to that now. Classes, as I can see before, I'll just go into it quickly. You can basically import classes from your Google Classroom or from your Microsoft Teams. As you can see here, I imported a few classrooms, and it's quick and easy. All you'd have to do is click on Google Classroom, right? And then all the classrooms that you have on your Google Classroom will automatically be here as a tick box. You just click on it and then you press import, and then all the names that are uploaded onto your Google Classroom will automatically pop down in a class right here for you to access and actually deliver the content to. The same with Microsoft Teams. But with anything, everything else, all the other apps are under a paywall, so you're not technically allowed to use it unless you upgrade. But Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom is easy to use. You can just basically go into the app right from here and then find the class, put it onto the site, and then you can automatically use it right there.
Jesse, is there a limit to the number of classes you can create?
No, that's the weird part. There's no number of classes that you can write. Yeah, I created for on my other account on my other email address. I have like 10 or 12, so there's no number of classrooms that there's a restriction for.
Okay, that's cool.
Now again, what is the buzzword now in
Jesse, you cut out a
assessments?
bit. You cut out a.
Oh, sorry. What is the buzzword that examinations and assessments now have? Let's see if we can guess.
Jesse, you're testing me now.
Let's
I
guess.
don't know.
You are a principal. Accommodations.
Oh, assessment accommodations. Okay.
Accommodations. Yeah, right. Did you know that quizzes actually has accommodations for your classroom?
No, I didn't.
Right. So everyone that basically joined the previous quiz, their names will also pop up right here, and you can actually add accommodations for individual learners. So I'll click, for example, let's find Hagen Owen. There's Hagen. So all you have to do is you search a classroom. So I'll say all classes. I'll click on Hagen. And then you'll see here on the right-hand side, you can actually place accommodations on the learner. So ranging from having the questions being read aloud, providing extra time for questions, providing extra student attempts, all the way down to a dyslexia font to translate, a bilingual dictionary. So you can basically help the learner out as if it was in real life. Isn't that cool?
Well, I think that's amazing. We actually a full service school, and this would be a great tool for us. I think it's really amazing. I think it can help so many learners. And I think of my context, for example, where we always struggle to get readers and scribes, for the kids. And this is a way that they can, be in a space where they are comfortable and where they can learn, because learning is a unique experience. We all learn differently, and I think so that's also something that we need to realize as educators. Every learner does not learn the same. So I think this tool is absolutely amazing.
Exactly, and the great part is everything is private. You as an educator is the only one that will see these accommodations. So the other learners, when they're all busy with the test or the quiz, they won't actually see that this learner has this type of accommodation, because we know that a lot of people are shy about their accommodation. So it really keeps everything private. And it's just between you, the learner, and the parent who's receiving the email of the results. So it's really great. Most schools are full service schools, so it does help out with those learners that need the extra time, or that struggles to read a bit, or that suffers from dyslexia or dyscalculia, as you can see here. This for the kids with the learning disability of mathematics. Sorry, it does allow for them to actually participate in the course without having them to feel one side and like, oh, I can't actually participate with the other learners.
That's so cool.
Are there any questions, Jadagan?
No, there's no questions, but I think everybody's quite impressed by the tool. I think if I'm looking at the posts, I'm seeing great. I'm seeing a lot of hand clapping, a lot of hearts, and I think we as teachers can relate that. It's difficult to reach every learner in the classroom because everybody is so different. But these tools make it possible for every learner to feel a part of the lesson. And I always think about kids, kids tend to act out when they don't feel comfortable. Kids tend to act out and be problematic in the classroom where they struggle to learn, but they also don't know how to communicate that a lot of the time. So I always think if we're looking from a learning support perspective, all of us as educators have the ability to screen and check and get to know our learners. And so when you do get to know your learners, that's when you adjust your way of teaching and you incorporate these different tools.
Exactly that, Hagen. All right, so as I said before, I was going to get to the reports tab right there. And if you click on the reports tab, you'll see all the quizzes that all your learners or your participants participated in. So let's use the first one, for example, the one we did on the Industrial Revolution. So all you have to do is just click on the tab right there. And then it will open up the analysis that we had on the end of the quiz, where it will have the accuracy, the amount of points they gained, the score, but the questions they got correct and the questions that they got incorrect. So I'm not going to scroll down, and I don't want to embarrass anyone with the Industrial Revolution knowledge. But as you
Don't
can see
embarrass me,
here,
Josie.
I want to embarrass you again because you're a history teacher that just didn't do well in the history test.
Just
Right, so
fully
as you
created
can
it.
so as you can see here, there's a few options that you can actually go to. You can actually print out this whole results sheet so that you can keep it on file, right? Because as you know, in the education career path, we always have to have evidence. There should always be a paper trail, and this can be a paper trail to show that you consolidated the knowledge in the classroom, that you actually made a conscious effort to engage them in the class and to teach them the content that they are struggling with. You can share the report with someone, so maybe a higher up or one of the SMT members to show them the advantages of quizzes. And you can also email all the parents of these learners. But please note, you must have the email parents of the learners preloaded on either your Google Classroom or on the quizzes site so that they can get a copy of this transcript right here. Now, this is what I want to show you. So this is one of the AI tools that I'll show you throughout the session, but this is the first one. So you can actually analyze this report using Wayground AI. So they'll take everything that is done in the test, all the questions that's wrong, all the questions that's right, and it will create you a personalized report. It's not long, it's quick and detailed, but it tells you how many people, as you can see here, the first area of improvement, 14 students struggle with the impact of industrialization on the working class. So I can go find practice quizzes to help with this one. Number two, 10 students struggled with the reasons behind the importation of indentured laborers from India to South Africa. So as you can see here, it will give me 5 of the areas of improvements that the AI has identified of the learners that are struggling. Isn't that cool, Hagen?
That's amazing, JC. That's amazing because now I don't have to go and search for it because there's one thing that is so valuable to us as educators. It's time. We don't have a lot of time, and so this helps us so much.
Exactly, Hagen. So one of the things we always have to analyze our data, and this is one quick way that Wayground is helping us to analyze the data and actually have that instant feedback that we need so that we can identify the missing information or knowledge that the learners might have.
JC, we have
All
a
right,
we have a question quickly in the chat. Sorry to break your thought now. We just have a question from Paveen. Paveen asks, teachers join for free, but will there be a cost if the school wants to load an account and start a profile?
Yes, there is a cost. So let's just go into the upgrade option quickly. So as you can see here, we are basically now on the free option. So this is now for individuals only. So there's limitations such as only 20 activities can be stored at a time, 10 AI credits, and all of those things. Now, if a school wants to have access to all of the quizzes options and to have multiple accounts, they can contact quizzes themselves and get a quote. Uh, Personally, I don't know how much it's going to be for a school, but it is possible for the whole school to actually have quizzes accounts, yes. Hope that answers your question. All right, any more questions, Egan?
No questions so far, just a couple of comments. Just referring to learners that are too shy to ask questions. And this is a great way for us to know when they do not understand, which I agree. Kaylin says will help with the analysis of results. This is also a great tool. I've seen many times where teachers are trying to like practically analyze results and we get it wrong sometimes. So this helps a lot too. We're not all maths teachers.
Exactly. And we're not all Excel boffins because a lot of the times you need that Excel sheet and it's so confusing.
That's so true.
All right, so Hagen, are you ready for me to now create something from scratch? Because I feel like I've been talking a lot about the nitty and gritty and not actually showing the full power of quizzes.
JC, seeing is believing. So we've been waiting for this moment for a long time.
Such a principle talk.
You're,
Right.
you're such a big talker today. We want to see you in action.
Okay, so you'll press the create tab right there, the plus sign. And then you will get these different options. So as you can see here, you can create assessments such as the quizzes we have created. You can create lessons, you can create interactive videos, flashcards, and passages. Now, again, let's first start with assessment and then we'll get into the flashcard because I feel like the flashcard is going to help the learners actually test one another if you understand where I'm going with this.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Right, so I clicked on assessment. Now, because this has AI built into the website, there's three different ways that you can create a new activity. You can import worksheets or questions that you already have from spreadsheets or PDFs or Google Forms and then create a quiz from that. You can create it from scratch, but as we all know, teachers do not have a lot of time on their hands. We enjoy our free time. So that is usually for when you have a clear plan in your head, you want to create this test from scratch. You have the 10 or 20 questions that you want to use, and you're ready just to knock it out. But most of the time, we go into something creating from scratch. We have everything planned, but then we get sidetracked by all the cool features, and then we spend 3 or 4 hours on the site, but haven't actually created anything. Now, my favorite one is to generate with AI. So here you can actually generate quizzes from your documents, from websites, from different, just the text, from videos, from audio, anything. You can basically create a quiz from there. So I'm going to show you this one quickly. So you'll just click on generate with AI. Right? And then there's two different ways or few different ways that you can actually do it. You can upload the document from your device. You can do a text or a prompt. You can use a website or a YouTube video. Now, for argument's sake, I'm going to upload from my device. So let's upload from my device. Let's go into my working language. Let's take figures of speech, for example. Right? So I'll click on the figures of speech PDF that I have there. I'll press open. As you can see in the top right hand, there is an AI limit, and then it will load all of the images that relates to the PDF file. It does usually go quick if it is just a few pages or a few images. If there is around about 4950 as I have right now, there is a max of only 30 pages. So then you press upload pages. Right, and as you can see here, there's a progress bar, and it will basically create study materials or quizzes for this PDF that we have right here. And the great thing is that you can actually take pictures and documents using the mobile app, and then you can actually create quizzes from your phone as well. That is something new that I haven't tried yet, but it's something new that they've added once they have transitioned over to the Wayground AI. Are there any questions yet, Hagen, while this is loading?
Actually, there's no questions. I think everybody's loving the way you're presenting the session. They removed my raising hand function. So unfortunately, I couldn't raise my hand because I had a question. But seeing that I have the freedom to talk now, JC, I have a problem a lot of the time when I upload and use this function, right? And I just want it to be multiple choice. It doesn't just give me multiple choice. Sometimes it gives me open-ended questions. So how do we prevent that from happening? How do we simply have it just create multiple choice?
That's what I'm going to show you now, that you can just set it for multiple choice questions. But it seems like the AI is not working with me today. I think the document was too hefty for me to upload. So we'll try this again. Oh, there we go. Right. So once you have uploaded all of the study materials, you can even select the pages that you want and discard the pages that you don't want from your PDF. And then you'll choose the amount of questions. So again, I think we'll choose 10. For grade 8, we'll choose level 1. Right? And then allow students to read this document while answering. And then you press generate quiz. Now, once you press generate quiz, it will generate the quiz questions right there. And then usually, again, because of what you upload, it will give you different types of questions. So there's a setting that you can set, which I'll show you now, to just give you multiple choice using the AI right there, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, this is exactly why I jumped onto the session, because I know everything you're explaining besides this one part.
Can you see there? All of mine is multiple choice.
Okay, I see it. So how do
Right.
you ensure that it's only multiple choice?
Right, so there's a settings. Right, so when you first start with your quizzes and everything, it is AI. So what it does is it will pick up on the type of questions that you keep creating. So because I created from scratch always just multiple choice questions, every time I upload something, it automatically creates a multiple choice question. But you can actually convert those open-ended questions into multiple choice questions by using the AI actions here on the left-hand side, which I'll show you just now.
Okay.
Right, so as you can see there, I uploaded a whole PDF of 30, 40 pages and it created a whole quiz based on figures of speech for me. What is alliteration? And it even basically gave me answer choices and the correct answer as well. As you can see there, I said I must create 10 questions and it gave me 10 questions on all their figures of speech documents that I uploaded right there. So this is now the preview option where you can see how the quiz will look. So this is how the quiz will look for the learners if you're basically sharing with them in the classroom. Minimal effort. All I did was upload the document and they can actually now access a you can use in the classroom that you can use everywhere else. Isn't that great, Agan?
I think it's great. You know what? You know when I usually use it, JC? It's on those
When?
Fridays when they say they don't feel like working. And then I'm like, okay, let's work. Let's quiz. Let's quiz the entire week's work. And they are there, you know. Another thing that I just wanted to mention quickly is that, you know, the kids love this so much. There was a time where we decided to have extra classes and the kids ran away from the extra classes. They like refused to go. Yeah, so what I decided to do was I decided to set up quizzes and I only invited the learners that wanted to work. The rest of the kids stood outside the classroom staring through the window and I was like, yeah, well, you guys wanted to run away and now we're having fun. So they love this. I mean, kids love learning. That's
Such a
one thing.
principal move.
JC, it's a smart move. I think we forget
Such
sometimes
a
that
principal move.
kids love to learn, they love to be stimulated. It's just the way we go about it. I think we got to get away from the old outdated way of doing things and kind of get to their level also in terms of that.
Exactly that. But as I said, such a principal move to do. But what I usually like to do is I use this quizzes on a Monday. Monday morning when I get in first period. No one wants to hear about figures of speech, parts of speech, literature, anything such as that at 8 or past 8 in the morning. So I use it as an icebreaker just to get the class warmed up, to get everyone going for the day. And it usually works. But if it is a Monday after a long weekend, then I don't think anything works for these learners. So, so as you can see here, the famous AI that I've been bragging about. Now there's 10 credits, so you can only use 10 of the AI actions a month. quack, 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 sadly, because it's now paywall everything. But you can still use it to your best abilities. So all you do is you click on it right here. And as you can see here, here's different options that you can actually choose on to enhance the quiz and make it a bit more fun. So as I said before, a lot of the times the content of the concepts is a bit boring for the learners. So what I like to do is I like to convert the questions to real world scenarios. So to make it a bit more fun. So if you just click on the magic wand right here, it will enhance your quiz and it will give you a preview how the quiz will look. As you can see here, so it basically gave me a scenario asking about alliteration. So during a poetry competition, Maya recited a poem that was filled with phrases such as silly Sally swiftly shooed 7 silly sheep. What is this literary device called? So instead of just asking what is alliteration, it's now given me different scenarios and different contexts so that the learner can actually engage with the quiz. Instead of just reading which is of the following is an example of assonance and then they just click the answer. So now they're actually engaging. Alright, so maybe you don't like that. I'll just say I didn't find that useful. Right? You can even add your students' names in the questions. So we'll basically take all those class names that you have there and then we'll add the student names in different questions to make it a bit more personalized. So instead of it just being boring, Sally or John or whatever, it can actually be JC and Hagen were debating in a poetry competition. Another way is you can translate the quiz to another language. Now, this is a cool function. Quick story. So at my school, we have a learner that recently joined. And he doesn't actually speak English that well. His native tongue is Portuguese. So he speaks Portuguese, but he's in an English school, unfortunately. Isn't that sad, again?
That is sad. There's a lot of these learners actually.
Yeah. So a lot of the times he doesn't understand certain concepts that I'm teaching in English because it's not his first language. So what I like to do is I like to translate the quiz into Portuguese so that he can also participate in the classroom, but he can also pick up certain of the English concepts that we are talking about. Instead of him feeling left out in one side of the class and we laughing about something in English, he can actually also participate in the quiz. Now, a lot of you are going to ask about Afrikaans. Yes and no. I can translate to Afrikaans, but it translates to Dutch Afrikaans, right? To the Dutch language. I think it's called that Dutch, right again?
Yeah, it's called Dutch. So I
Dutch,
think
yeah.
you gotta go back and check it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back and check it because a lot of the times the words doesn't reflect the Afrikaans that we speak here in the country. Because it's easier.
Sorry,
Sorry,
continue.
I can no,
Continue.
no, no. Add your valuable. Add the valuable
No, I'm
content
just
that you want
thinking
to.
Liesel did a session on AI. And I think it's always, just to mention it in this session too, it's always to go back and check, you know, check everything, even though AI has created it, make sure you check it.
Exactly that. Because as you can see there is Afrikaans. So we click on Afrikaans and then enhance quiz. It will give you some great Afrikaans words, as you can see here, but sometimes it won't have the correct punctuation or the correct spelling of words because it does take from the Dutch wording. But it is great for you to just have a basis to work from, and then you can actually just go and edit the Afrikaans that they're using here, or edit the question so that it can be grammatically correct. So it's not just English, it can also be translated to Afrikaans. But even when it is in English, you still have to go back, as Adrian said, and actually go and look if everything is correct. Because AI loves to hallucinate. It will make up things or will make up words if they don't actually understand what you're trying to say. But as you can see here, more or less correct in Afrikaans. I'm not that sure because my Afrikaans is a bit sketchy. But as you can see here, it does translate to Afrikaans. Not perfectly, but it does good enough so that you can go and edit. Are there any questions, Hagen?
No question, just a lot of positive feedback. Tanya said that she's been playing around and she says there's already a lot of existing, assessments set up, great flashcards for the little kids. Liesel says you can run your quiz through AI and then use Wayground to create your quiz. That's also something that I've been doing. I would pop my quiz into AI or pop a PowerPoint into AI to generate something and then pop it into Wayground. Just to simplify things and also with the language and stuff, because I teach 90% Afrikaans, so thank you for that. Yeah, so just a lot of good feedback, and it can help many different learners.
Exactly that. But like I said before, there's a lot of quizzes that are already set on the site right here. And you can actually add those quizzes to your quiz that you created. As you can see here in the top, you have the search bar. So you can search quizzes. If you click search quizzes, you can search it from the community or from your own library. So you can search different types of quizzes that actually relate to the quiz that you're creating. For example, sound devices. If I click on this quiz that was created by someone, you can let it go through their quiz and see what relates to your topic. As you can see here, here's more of an application question, and then they have to choose the type of figure of speech it is. Once you have found a quiz that you enjoy or a question that you enjoy in your quiz, all you have to do is press add question, and then the question will be added to your quiz at the bottom, as you can see here. So you don't actually have to go and create a quiz from scratch. You can just add different questions to the quiz that you have created already.
Okay, JC, just two questions quickly, because I
Yep.
know we're limited for time also. First question by Paveen asks, are there other African languages that you can translate to? And secondly, Kaylin Pfeiffer asks, if we use a pre-existing quiz, does it add to our 20?
Unfortunately, I'll answer the second question first. Unfortunately, if you use a pre-existing quiz, it gets housed in your library, so it does use your 20. Because the 20 doesn't relate to what you have created, it relates to what you are keeping for yourself technically in your library. So think of it like storage on a phone. If you keep downloading things, the storage will be used up. The same here, if you keep using things, because it will automatically go to your library so that you can edit the quiz, and then it becomes your quiz, so it uses up the 20. And then secondly, the African languages, there are a few, but there's not any of the 11, or I think it's 12 official South African languages that we have. It just has English and Afrikaans, and then there's a few of the African countries' languages. But no isiXhosa, isiSotho, those types of languages, unfortunately. Not yet, actually. That answer everyone's question again?
Yeah, that answers everybody's questions.
Okay, so once you now have created the quiz, you would just press the publish quiz right there. And as you can see there, I used another one of my credits just by pressing the publish button, and there's my quiz correct, ready for everyone to use or to assign to a learner.
Jesse,
Now,
can you download your quiz? Just like for example, you want to keep your quizzes, maybe you want to store it on your drive or something like that, just in case for future reference. Because if you're teaching straight up from grade 8 to grade 12, there's quite a number of quizzes you'd like to create, and so you don't want to lose them, and you want to be able to use them every year.
you can download it, but you won't be able to edit the quiz.
Yeah, but you can just upload again, ask AI to create again,
You
right?
can, yes.
Something
So
similar to that.
that's what we call the worksheet option that we were speaking about earlier on. So you click on the worksheet option right here. You still see my screen again?
We still see it.
Right, so then I will create a type of worksheet for you to actually hand out to the learners, as you can see here. So you can download it as a PDF, or you can print it directly from the site, and it even gives you space for the learner's name, the class, the date, so that they can actually have also a paper trail to paste in their book and do a quick activity. So it's not just for you to use online for a game, you can actually use it as your formative assessment in the classroom. So they can paste it in the book and then do the activity in the book as well. And then obviously it will be downloaded as a PDF, and you can upload it again to a different site or wherever, and it will take all of this content and then create a new quiz for you.
Okay, there's a question. Firstly, how do I share my quiz with my learners? And then secondly, where will the results be displayed?
All right, so there's two ways that you can share. I see not adding them to a class. So if you don't want to add your learners to the class, you can do the same way that I've done it. Let me just go there. You just press start now.
The way we did
Or
it this morning when we
Yeah,
started the
start
session.
now. You start the activity or you start the game in classic mode, which is the different types of modes that there is. And then they will basically scan the QR code or type the website in on the computer or on the desktop, write their names, and then all the reports and all the analysis will be in the same place as I've shown before, which is right there. Let me just go in there again. So this is without everyone else actually logging in or being part of a classroom. All of their names is here and all of their results is here as well. So don't actually have to be tied to the quiz site if you don't want to go through that effort. It was just going to be a quick activity. Any other questions, Hagen?
No other questions.
Okay, so that is the one way that you can actually upload content. Now, because this is a boot camp and we don't just want you to actually just learn this and then keep it for yourselves, we want the learners also to use the site if they are able to, if they have the resources. They can actually create flashcards. They can create flashcards which they can actually download and actually use to study their subjects. So the same way that you would upload your content, you would upload the content for the flashcards, right? So for example, you upload a PDF or you upload a document and then it will create flashcards for the learners to use. So I'll quickly show you that here. You click the flashcard option and then you can paste the text, you can place a document or you can even an article. So I'm going to find a document quickly. For flashcards, let's pick, let's take witness keys. Chapter 10 to 12, open. Right, so then I can choose a number of flashcards I want. I want 10 cards and witness keys for grade 8, generate flashcards. So this won't generate a quiz, it will generate that flip flashcards that we have where they ask a question and it flips for the answers. So this is not just for educators to use. This can be used as a type of informal assessment in the class just to get the class going, just to gauge their knowledge. But this can also be used for learners that enjoy creating flashcards or cue cards when they are busy studying, without them having to go through the effort of writing out everything and then creating questions for themselves. They can just use the quizzes app. And as you can see here, I created different questions based on the questions that I uploaded. And if we preview, these are the type of flip cards that they would have. Now, because I uploaded one that didn't have any answers, it says here, evaluate responses using AI off. But in actual fact, if there was a question answer, it would be a question and they will flip over to an answer, which is great for the learner to use to help them when they are studying for their examinations. Are there any questions there, again?
No questions so far. I think we're just very intrigued by what you're showing us right now.
All right, that is great. Then let's go to the create option. So now let's create the assessment from scratch. So if you create an assessment, from scratch, there are different options that you can choose from. So you don't have to just upload a document and create a quiz. If you have something in your head, a quiz in your head or content in your head that you want to go through, right, you can create it from scratch without having to upload anything. There are a few types of questions that you can choose from. Multiple choice, such as we did, where we'll give you 4 options. A fill in the blank question. I can do a passage if you are creating a comprehension. But please note everything with the lightning bolt. That means that it's behind a paywall. It's not part of the free version. So these ones in green here, we can't use to create our questions, but you can even create questions for the learner to draw something, open-ended questions that will need you to actually mark it. You can create a poll or even a word cloud, which is done earlier on for the Microsoft Teams, where we ran a poll and all the different answers that you gave as participants popped up in. So we'll do a multiple choice question first. So we'll click on multiple choice. And then it will open up.
Can you upload the image?
Yes, you can. I'm going to show you now quickly. So
okay.
Once you have this multiple choice screen right here, as you can see there's 4 options at the bottom. All right, so we'll type a question. Again, give me a question quickly.
Okay, can we do it this way, the history way?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, how useful is the source?
Okay.
To a historian.
I thought that's another sentence.
That's not. It's a
To
comma. To
and
a historian. A
I'll add the comment
historian
now. Yeah.
studying
Studying.
the Industrial Revolution.
Okay. What? Now that we have the question, now we have to give the options. Right? So before
So
Hagen continues, right, you
okay.
can even
I
you
will not
can
continue.
just hold on, Hagen. So we can either have multiple correct answers where there's just not one that is correct, or we can have a single correct answer. So if you only want one question that's correct, you would actually have to tick the box in the corner to mark the correct answer. Alright, so there's two ways you can do it. You can either type the option in these boxes right here, or you can generate the options with AI. So again, let's just see what AI gives first.
But wait, JC, I want you to upload an image.
Okay, just hold on quickly. Right. So as you can see there, AI basically gave us different options. And so Hagen, what type of image would you like?
So anything regarding the Industrial Revolution.
Industrial
Maybe
Revolution.
the steam engine. Type in the steam engine.
Steam engine.
Steam engine.
Right, and then it will give you different Google images right here. So let's pick one.
Let's
I like that one.
choose the train.
Okay. And then it will give you a preview of the image before you paste it. Right. Press save. And there you go. So it
So they
basically
can
gave you
they can analyze something and you can ask a question based on what you've uploaded. Maybe a text, maybe an image. So this actually helps me with my source work.
exactly like that, Aiken. Especially if you can see in the top left-hand corner, mathematics teacher, you can upload a graph, a diagram, or whatever it may be, without you having to create a course and then show the picture to the class, and then create a course and show the picture to the class.
I think that's so cool.
That is really cool. And then, as you can see here, so Aiken, these are the options that AI gave. Which is the correct answer, or would you like to change the options?
Well, obviously, you'd want to go a little bit more in depth with your answer. These answers were based on no image, just based on the question. But I think obviously, if you're looking at the source, it tells us about the steam engine. It tells us about transport being more efficient, business being more efficient and more effective. Yeah, so it tells us about things being, quicker, faster, more effective
Okay,
due to the solution.
so let's delete the responses and then we see what
And the
AI
source must
gives.
be useful. The source is always useful.
Debatable actually.
JC, I always say to my kids, I'm never going to put in a photo of a Ferrari if it's got nothing to do with these three. So
Sometimes I never understand the sources that they provide me still when I look at the question papers.
okay, that's better. That's a better answer.
Right, so as Hagen pointed out, if you uploaded an image and in conjunction with the question, the AI will take all of this into account and then create new questions. Right, new answers, sorry. So, but you first have to delete all of the answers and then generate with AI again, and then it will recreate options. So, which one do you think would be correct, Hagen?
Definitely A.
Okay, highly useful for understanding. Right? So once you have all of this done right here, you completed your first multiple choice question. But you can even add an answer explanation. So once they have actually answered the question, you can add a media. So basically like the memes that you saw at the end of your quiz. And you can even type fun facts or explain why the answer is correct. So they don't just get the answer correct, they actually get more explanation. So to build on that knowledge that they might have had. Isn't that cool?
I think that's
Then here on the Then here on the top ribbon, we basically have the different points. So points basically refers to the marks that they get for the question. Right, so we can make it 20 points, we can make it 2 points, make it 2 points because that's realistic. Well, I think this is a 3 point question, right, again? 3 marks, 1 mark.
it's actually 4 marks for FET
Yo,
and 2 marks for GET.
Okay, let's take FET 4 marks. And you can even time allocation for every question. You can change for 1 minute, maybe it's a longer type of question, or 30 seconds because it is multiple choice. And then once everything is done, you press save question. Oh, let's go back to question. I don't want to answer explanation. And there you go. You have your first question created. Now you can use AI to add similar questions, right? If you are a bit lazy, such as I am, or you can press add question and then the bar will pop up again. So let's take an open-ended question for again. Now, if it is multiple choice of those questions where there are preset answers, the AI will mark it for you. But if it is open-ended questions where there's no set answers, you as an educator is going to have to mark the question. So Hagen, let's pick a question. Anything.
Let's make it simple. Explain the impact of the steam engine.
Impact of the steam engine. Anything specific you want him to speak about?
So obviously transportation, business. Or you don't have to put that in. You can just explain the
Okay.
impact of the steam engine.
Right, so this is an open-ended question. As you can see here, the learner has 1,000 characters. So 1,000 characters refers to the amount of letters that they can use, not sentences such as words such as we use letters. So 1,000 characters is, I think it's probably 400, 300 words depending on the amount of letters in a word. But that's on average 300, 400 words that they are allowed to type as their answer. So you don't want something very lengthy to be a essay question, just with something to gauge the understanding on a concept or on a term. So once you have that, you add your answer explanation, you change your marks, just make those 2 marks, the time allocation, and you press save question. And then the open-ended question will pop up right here. And then the last thing, let's do a drawing question. Okay, I know they have to draw timelines, right? So, for example, draw the timeline of the Industrial Revolution. I think that's a question in history.
Not really, but okay. I'm also learning.
What do you mean, not really? I'm thinking back to my grade 8 years. I had to draw a timeline to say this is when it started and this is where it ended. Or was the teacher lying to me?
JC, I think it's time to accept that you have also aged.
Has the content changed?
A little bit, yes.
I feel like that teacher was just actually trying to keep us busy. I don't think that was true. Right, so draw the timeline for Industrial Revolution, and then you can select the background the students will draw on. Now this is great. So if you have a graph, for example, a blank graph or PDF version or picture of a graph, you can upload it and then the learner has to draw on the graph. This is great for those mathematical questions, as you can see here, for them to draw on the graph. It's great for if you have a timeline, for them to just draw a timeline on a blank canvas, all of those things. Right, even for technology, I know in technology they have to draw a lot. You can upload the grid lines, and then they have to draw the table or the chair or the staircase that they may need. So I'll choose a blank canvas, and this is how the blank canvas will look. As you can see there, you can crop the image, you can replace the image or delete the image, and you press save question. Right, and then as you can see there, it's a white blank canvas where they can just basically draw, and then you again have to go and mark it because it is seen as an open-ended question. Are there any questions yet, Hagen? Am I going too fast?
No. I think you're at the right place because now the questions are coming in. Paveen asked a very important question. Can you have possibly keywords in your answers for basically where maybe AI can pick up on, such as if you're asking about the steam engine, then you put in like the keywords such as transportation or business in your potential memo answer?
So that's a bit of a complicated question because it is an open-ended question. Right? AI will pick up certain things, but it won't pick up everything. So maybe the child is a waffler, such as Hagen and myself, where we speak a lot and we type a lot. It might not give the accurate mark for the learner because they are speaking a lot about maybe irrelevant stuff that's related to transportation or business, but they don't actually say it in the text, if you understand what I mean. And then
Yeah.
so that's why it's best if you mark your open-ended questions yourself or your drawings yourself. But things such as the fill in the blank or the multiple choice, AI marks that brilliantly without any mistakes or defaults.
Okay.
Right. So as you can see here, we'll just stick to the 3 questions. This is for you to go and play around. And then here on the left-hand side, you can even import questions from Google Forms or from spreadsheets that you might have. Because I know a lot of the time people like to use Excel to create different questions to different things that they upload to AI. You can upload those preset Excel sheets to here and it'll create a quiz for you. Now, let's just go back quickly. Let's go back to my other quiz right here. Now I want to show you the paperless version or the paper mode version or paperless mode version. Let's go to my library and then let's take the Industrial Revolution for example again. Right, and you press start. Now, right, as you can see here in the sessions mode, you get a paper mode. So if I click on the paper mode, right, there's 2 things that you will need for the paper mode. Now, there's a session on Thursday where myself and Aigan will go more in depth in the paper mode of quizzes, which is called the low-tech solutions, where we can show you how to use these different AI or website functions in the classroom if you don't have a lot of technology. Right, so things such as quizzes and SwiftGrade that you can use without having minimal technology in the classroom. But for explanation purpose, all you would need is to print out the cue cards for the students. So the cue cards is basically QR codes that's printed on a page. In my class, I usually give it to my learners. They paste it at the back of their hardcover book. I'll show you now. These are the quizzes looks like, the cue cards. As you can see here, let me just zoom out. It's basically like a QR code, but it's a personalized QR code that has the player's name, which is P1. It won't be assigned to a learner because each time it will be different. But if you now give each QR code has a different number, so P1 up until P60, and then the learners can also look on the QR code and see, oh, this is myself on the leaderboard. As you can see here, the way that they would do it is they'll turn the QR code to show the option that they want right on top. So, for example, if the answer is C, they will turn C right around and C will be on top here. The answer is B, B will be right on top here. And then you would take your smartphone and then you will scan it. So let me just show you quick. So this is a quick example. So you take your smartphone right there. You will scan all the options. And then as you can see there, all the results will pop up on your phone. So without them actually having to have a computer or cell phone in the class, the only cell phone you use is yours, and then all the results will pop up on your cell phone, and then you can actually display it on the screen the same way I displayed it in the chat, which is a cool thing to use, especially if there's not much technological tools in the classroom.
I see one thing I've done is I know you say you paste it at the back of the learners' books, but
Yeah.
in my context, we can't print over 1,000 QR codes, you know. So what we have done is I printed out one set. I don't know what's the total number of QR codes you can print. I think it's about 60 or in the high 50s. And
60,
you print
60.
one set. Is it 60?
Yeah.
So I've printed out one set. I've laminated that one set. I keep it in my cupboard, and whoever comes into my classroom and they use the QR code, they return it to me. But like I said, it's laminated, so I keep it in good condition and I keep it stored in a safe place. But it's only one set that I've printed. And another thing is that what I make sure of is the number that the child gets is the same number that they are on my class list. So that's how I'm able also to track with regards to, you know, who's the one scanning in, because the difference between low tech and between the other version is that the other version you type in your name. With the low tech you don't type in your name. So make sure that the child is using the same number on that QR code all the time to know, okay, number 1 is JC and number 2 is Kalen. So it's the same person the entire time. So when you track, you know who you're looking for.
Exactly. The reason why I don't do that is because I have so many classes, right? And I don't want to waste that much paper. But because at our school we have a bit more resources, I can print a bit more than you can. So then I print it for each of my classes, and then they have it throughout the year in their books. There's also a way for me to show parents this is what we do in the class when they are signing the books or signing the work that they have done. Now we'll get to the last thing for the session is that Wayground actually has a Chrome extension, right? So the small things right up here, there's a Chrome extension, and you can actually turn any website into a quiz. So without you having to go into the quiz site. So for example, we'll take an Othello, let's say Othello summary and analysis. Let's take Spark Notes.
I did
And
a
now
fellow trick. I remember now.
yeah, it's not one of the best plays, but I enjoy it. I think I'm a very much an English fundy. Enjoy these literature things. Right, so then you have the website, and now you decide, oh, this website is great. I actually want to create questions on the website. So then you go to your Chrome extension, 8 questions, multiple choice. You press generate, and then it will basically generate the quiz from the website directly without you having to go into the quiz site. So take all that content, all those good things that is from the website, all of those concepts and terms, and there you go, create a quiz for you without you actually having to go through the effort. So maybe you found a cool website on the Dust Revolution. Maybe you found a cool website of like myself for analysis using Spark Notes to help the learners understand the terms better, and then it will create the amount of questions, multiple choice questions that you would like. The way you would do that is just go into your Chrome store. So all you have to do is you type in Chrome extension store, as you saw I've done there, Chrome Web Store, and then you just press add to Chrome as I've done, and then it will pop up here by the puzzle piece in the right hand corner, which is called extensions. If you are making use of Microsoft Edge, you can still make use of the Chrome Web Store. You can still add it as extension to your Microsoft Edge, and then you can turn any website into a quiz. All right. So I think that is my session. Are there any questions, Hagen? Have you enjoyed the session?
Jesse, I love the session. Honestly, I love the session. Kaylin just mentioned something that with the QR codes, for example, she prints it on color paper. I think she works with foundation face, and she does it like in a sense in a group work setting with the kids. So each group has their own color and they use it in that way. But
Exactly
yeah,
that.
no other questions.
Okay, then that's great, Hagen. All right. Thank you all for joining.